Today on the podcast, we'll be joined by Gemma Homles from Gemma Vendetta Cosmetics. We'll be talking to Gemma about what it means to be a businesswoman, entrepreneur, and working mum. We'll be delving into how health can affect the trajectory of your life, some trial tips for those looking at starting their own business, and the ever-important topic and question on skincare and cosmetics. What are the ingredients, how are they tested, and could they be causing you harm?
Welcome to the Integrative Duo podcast. You're here with Kat and Beck. We're sisters with very unique paths, wanting to explore all things holistic living, self-development and consciousness with you.
We're joining forces to help support and inspire others to lessen the chemical load, eat more whole foods, become more conscious of their thoughts and beliefs, plus so much more.
So we're really excited to have Gemma on our podcast today. Gemma is a qualified hairdresser and makeup artist, educator and training cosmetic chemist. Gemma Vendetta Cosmetics is her brand, a high quality, high definition, safe, gender neutral and 100% vegan and cruelty-free mineral cosmetics for those who care about themselves, animals and the planet. Gemma's brand is 100% self-funded and is 100% Australian made. She's an entrepreneur, working mum, and a supporter of the Young Care Oz charity. We're so excited to have you on our podcast, Gemma. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the invitation. This is absolutely my first ever attendance on a podcast.
Wow. Yay.
We're so privileged.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great.
Hopefully I do it justice for you.
I'm sure you will. With a resume like that and a background, we're so thrilled to be able to pick your brain and have a chat and really look
sure. Even I was impressed by that.
You never fully kind of appreciate it until someone else probably condenses it down, or you sit and condense it down and go, oh, actually, I have achieved a lot. I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
most definitely. I think it's also when you hear it out loud, especially if something comes from an idea originally anyway. Anyway, Kat, I like your hair.
Why thank you. I recently had and the fringe. I think we're rocking the bangs. It's great. Yeah. My hair was your color probably 5 days ago, but my gray's just come through pretty quickly now, so I'm like, I need to go lighter. I can't go 2 weeks without getting my hair colored without the grays.
Wow, 2 weeks.
Not good.
Yours is lovely too.
All right, excellent. Well, Gemma, if it's all right, we might get started and just ask you a few questions, and just really wanted to know, first of all, what inspired you to develop Gemma Vendetta?
So it kind of hit me like a dare I say, a slow freight train. So there was a lot leading up to the final launch of the products, but basically, succinctly, back in 2007, I think I was about 20. I'm not very good at maths. I was in my 20s, say, and I'm in my 40s now, which maybe I shouldn't have said that out loud. There's a thing about women and age, isn't there? Anyway, so 2007, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So I presume you both know what that is. You both are in the health and wellness realm, but basically for people who don't know, they shorten it to MS, and it's a degenerative autoimmune disease. So that means that my body eats itself in a way. That's where that's where it started. That was the beginning of the journey. And then the idea for the products came after I had finished my studies in hairdressing and makeup artistry. And I've always been a little bit alternative, and I've always sought, better options than sort of what we're shown initially, or what we're shown in the mainstream. And I was just getting really sick and tired of having to use products with really awful chemicals in them. And, so I thought, instead of buying a house, why don't I start a business? So I put all of my house deposit into my idea, and I did the NICE program, which is the New Enterprise Incentive Scheme, and the amazing Rachel Kammerman from Holmes. I pitched my idea to her, and she thought it was a great idea, and she was also a hairdresser in her day as well, so she really got it. She really understood it. So yeah, I did the NICE program and got a Cert 4, I think, in small business management, and I had never been in business before that, so that was a really good way to start. And I laugh like that because wow, the amount of knowledge that I've got since is just mind-blowing, really. So yeah, there you go. Sorry, that was probably a bit long, but
no, perfect.
Wow, that's very impressive. And I I totally get the whole go through health struggles in order to find what works for you and your passion and drive. Like, it's like a catalyst. I totally relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then having the confidence in what you believe in to choose to go into one direction. So, you know, instead of going along to purchase that house, you truly believe in your products and your health, and then going into business for yourself. So, wow.
Yeah, it was kind of a, I want to say it's a bit bonkers, really, because in the state of the world and everything that I guess we're taught, again, it must be one of the reasons that I think I was born different. And so I just thought, you know what, if a house, you can live anywhere, you can make any place a home, and it's what is within it that makes it that way. So I don't have any issues with renting as long as it's got air conditioning, otherwise my MS plays up. But yeah, so it was just maybe yeah, like I said, it was a bit bonkers, really, to just have this thought that, do you know, I never had a moment that I ever doubted that people would want to use my products. It was just because I thought, wow, well, why wouldn't you? Because they're so lovely and good, and you know, they come from such an authentic place. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I think you've touched on quite a bit of it, but what else is unique about your business?
So definitely that whole self-funded, full-time single mom. I've raised my son by myself since he was 1.5, and he just turned 11. Wow. So, and I also had what I would say, this is very honest here, but a very severe case of postnatal depression. And I think that was also, you know, our bodies are intrinsically designed, I think, to, without sounding gross, like I think humans are designed to sort of procreate and, you know, make other humans, but my body just basically was not happy with me after I had my son. And so it probably took a good year or more to even recover from the labor. And I think, yeah, there's that thing as well where people generally don't talk about trauma in birth and labor, but I did have that. And then, yeah, like I said, I was struggling with, struggling's an interesting term, maybe dealing with, because I anything that is an issue in my life, I you know, just sort of do it head on. And it's the same with the MS. And yeah, I didn't have any other option other than to just live and keep going and do things. So the business was great because it actually gave me something to focus on. And yeah, wow, that's very personal, isn't it?
Good. Thank you for the honesty. Like we're all about having candid, real conversations, because we're like that in person anyway. So we want to bring that to the podcast. So I appreciate it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't suffer from postnatal depression, I do remember the late nights sitting up just worried that my baby's going to die in its sleep. Like the hormones that you get after going through labor and pregnancy are just, they're extreme, aren't they? They're people talk about it, but until you experience it, you just don't understand. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's not something, my dad told me this actually, it's not anything that you could ever prepare yourself for. Yeah, that's for sure. Maybe if I knew then what I know now, Oliver wouldn't exist, but no, he wouldn't.
And that's probably why we don't know that, because then we wouldn't, necessarily go through it again. But
correct.
You go through people do. I've only got the one, but people do go through childbirth again. So we kind of push it to the side and maybe forget a little bit.
It's a natural coping mechanism. Yeah. Your brain just goes,
yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Yeah. What do you mean my insides will come out? Anyway, yeah.
You're right. It's all good. It won't happen. Oh goodness. So thank you for talking openly. And on your blog, when we were doing a little bit of research about Gemma Vendetta, you were talking about the challenges that you've overcome, and you mentioned it here, multiple sclerosis. You talked about quitting your job and becoming a full-time mom. How did you find pursuing something you're passionate about affect the trajectory of your life?
Wow, good question. I found that it has given me a deeper understanding, I think, of what is essentially important in life. And I'm not going to say that what is important to me, but I think it's more of a broader description of, what, if you get up every morning and you don't hurt in any way, then that's a good day. And it was, like I said, it was my business is a welcomed, I want to say distraction, but it's not a distraction at all, because I would work on my business. I still do, till 11 p.m, 11:30. I think it was actually midnight last night that I got off the computer. And that's also because I'd been, it's just wonderful, and it promotes this relationship. I think what I'm trying to say is that it attracts, if you follow what it is that you are perhaps destined for, or you feel passionate about, like we're here today doing this. Beck and I have had our virtual paths cross in the past, and her and I spoke about that when we met in person, which was really funny. And I won't go into that, but it's just a funny sort of connection that we had before we even knew each other. And in saying that, it's this business, my brand, the health and wellness arena, just, if you stay true and you stay genuine, but if you know yourself, I know myself, I know that what you see is what you get, and there's no underlining whatever, like nothing negative to come from this whatsoever. So I think I've gone on a different trajectory there, but basically, I will work on my business whenever. So it's that's my motivation.
Excellent.
I feel like I didn't answer that question properly. Sorry.
No, I think you've also covered it in your previous answers. So the trajectory of your life, and I think you definitely have covered it.
Yeah. And I think,
can I share some news with you?
Yeah, please.
Yes.
So in the background, and this is I feel like if we look at numerology, maybe it's a good thing. So what is it, the 21st of the 12th, 21?
Oh wow, yes.
And to that, let's add that, I don't know, can you add it together and come up with a number? 17, I don't know.
Sure.
Again, math. But as of today, Gemma Vendetta Cosmetics is now live, with many thanks to Todd Creates, on the Woolworths Everyday Market platform.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
How exciting.
That's huge.
Yeah. It is huge.
Wow.
Well, it will be. I mean, when people realise that I'm there and I tell them that.
And we've had your first interview since going live, so I think that we're pretty privileged with that.
Pretty cool. On the same day today.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, we should revisit that in a year or something.
Yeah.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah, book it in.
Check it in. Yep. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, we want to know what your top tips would be, like a couple of tips, 3 to 5, for anyone wanting to start their own business.
Okay. 1, do what you are good at. Have a think about where your natural skills are and brainstorm, like basically brain dump or brain map, as I call it, on a piece of paper. Put you in the center, and then from that, just it's almost like a subconscious. There's a thing where you can actually close your eyes, and then the pen will move, and whatever comes out is, I didn't do that per se, but what I did is definitely I just became really hyper aware and really hyper focused on the area that I feel most passionate. So that's a really good place to start, and I probably should put this in dot points. So 1, know yourself and go on that journey of what you're good at naturally and what you're passionate about, and do it with gusto. 2, I would say definitely have sort of a brainstorming session of what could that look like. I'm not trying to tell people, I'm not a business coach by any means, but yeah, definitely that's a good way to do it. And what's another one? If you want to look at business in a strategic sense, then you have to look at, is there a place in the market for your particular idea or product? Because if you go into business and 2 or 3 years later you're not even making sales, well, 1, I would say, why are you doing that? Because you are setting yourself up for an awful mindset, because it's not a successful journey if you do that. So yeah, check the market, know your market. And I remember when I first started business, people would say to me, well, who's your target market? Who's your customer segment? What are the demographics? I'm just thinking, you know what, I am the demographic. So then it's that sort of introspection where I think, okay, well, so that's why I think my business is so, I would hope, genuine and open and attractive to people, because I want people to feel like they would know me. So there's that. What else? Yeah, just have like a belief in yourself. Absolutely, because if you don't have motivation, then you don't have anything. So yeah, there are days where I just think, I just don't want to do this, so I'll just go and eat, because generally I'm hungry. And that's the issue.
Yeah, hangry is a real thing. Yeah, definitely.
That's my problem.
Yeah, totally. It's like you've got 15 minutes until
someone's going to die. If I don't eat, my family knows it, my friends know
it's
it.
like the Snickers advert. It is legitimately like the Snickers advert.
So I always have to have a snack on me at all times, and I choose really healthy options.
Like boiled eggs, just boiled eggs. We had 4 on the stove cooking while we were waiting. So.
Wow, I have textural issues around eggs. I'm just it's like red meat. as well.
The texture of the red meat or just red meat in general?
Well, both. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, eggs. Give me a curried egg, maybe.
Yeah.
Like in a what's that thing? It's old school deviled eggs. You know those ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's got time for that? Seriously.
Well, funny you should say that. We've just had our Christmas party for our little cul-de-sac, and we had 2 servings of deviled eggs, and they come in this beautiful plate, which I didn't realize that have like the little crevices in them, so you can put half your egg, and they were delicious. But yeah, it's a lot of preparation to me. It looks like in presentation. Yeah.
And I guess like sushi, you could just put half that egg in your mouth, and that's gone.
Exactly. And you can eat a whole tray of eggs and regret it the next day.
There's a question I really want to know. When people eat sushi, do the little the round bit, do they put the whole thing in their mouth, or do they bite it in half?
No, so if you get the log, I always get mine cut up, so then I can just put it in my mouth. Otherwise, it just falls apart.
So you put the whole disc in your mouth?
In my mouth, yep. Otherwise, it just goes everywhere. I mean, I suppose it depends on who wraps it and how tight it is to see how much of the rice is going to fall out. But I go, nah, chuck it in the soy sauce and let's. I
feel like this is a global issue that we're trying to solve here.
It's like a poll. How do you eat your sushi?
I thought it was really interesting, going back one step, when we're talking about how when you're thinking about starting a business, to look at your market. Obviously, with cosmetics, the market's flooded, but it isn't flooded for natural cosmetics. I think obviously that's becoming more of a thing, but I guess the conventional makeup, I want you to touch on the harmful effects of conventional makeup or conventional products that have those toxins in it. Are you able to elaborate on that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Acknowledging what you said as well about the looking at the market in which you're wanting to enter into, there are some huge big name brands in the cosmetic. We don't necessarily have to mention them, but I'm sure everybody knows who they are, and that's fine. But again, with this whole, I'm like, well, why not me? Why not my products? Why not a brand from a little old Adelaide making change and sort of staking my claim, I guess, on a position in the industry? Because most of the big brands, they're actually owned. I don't know whether this is a taboo subject or whether people actually realize this, but that there are maybe 2 or 3 global parent companies who own pretty much all products that you see on the shelf. So we're talking about fierce marketing plans and money, and so they have teams behind them. And maybe the another thing that people don't realize about me, or whether that's important to note, is that Gemma Vendetta is me, and Gemma Vendetta Cosmetics is also me, and that's it. There's no one else in my business. So everything you see, from photography to promotion to, well, I'd actually got some help with an amazing ads specialist, and he has the best name ever. His name's Carol Funkenhauser.
Say that again.
Carol Funkenhauser.
Right. That's not a name that you forget.
No, and he's awesome. And anyway, so he's been helping me out with ads. And that's also because all the growth that I've had up until this point has been organic, which is a wonderful play on words. But okay, so let's talk about ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So water is a chemical. Fair enough, we all know that. But so is dimethicone. So one of those things will penetrate, actually they both penetrate the skin, And I'm rolling off the cuff on this, like trying to explain it in a really simple terms. So you could get water, spray it on your face, and it gets absorbed by the skin. In 10 to 15 seconds, it can reach the bloodstream, say. But if you have an ingredient like dimethicone, which also is known as silicone, and that will not necessarily enter the bloodstream, but what it will do is block the pores. It's designed to be a plastic sheath on the skin. You know, that's a lot of the time it's in things like setting sprays and sunscreens and things like that. It's also a really cheap filler. So there's another good segue between my brand and, let's say, the big brands, and that's because they use cheap ingredients en masse. So yeah, it's an industry based on money, really, but at the expense, I feel, of the consumer's health. So as soon as people start to just feel like, unless you've got a reason to maybe discover products that are better for you, then the vast majority of people would be happy to just use what they've always used because that's what they've always done. And, you know, then we get into a whole other area of perhaps psychology that I won't go into. So the reason that I've kept my packaging so simple and the way that you use the products simple is because it is simple. It's simply good for you. And I don't have to hide behind marketing claims. I don't have to hide behind shiny packaging or celebrity endorsement to actually tell people this is what you need to avoid and this is my products are what you should be using and you're welcome. So it's like so there are things in mainstream products. And the reason that I'm studying cosmetic chemistry is because the same reason that I became a hairdresser, a qualified hairdresser, even though I was already styling as a hobby, is because I needed to be a professional in my field, and I needed to have, or to be able, it's basically trust. So I trust that the knowledge I have is real and authentic. And so then my customers can see that as well. So when I talk about, you know, PEGs or, you know, parabens or, like I said, dimethicone, and brands are really, I'm focusing on silicone because I feel like most people know what a silicone is. I think most people are still learning about other ingredients. You know, or they might say, oh, but it's, you know, they wouldn't put it in a product if it wasn't safe or tested. Really?
I love that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hello. Oh no, they wouldn't put additives in water because, you know, yeah. Anyway, so that's my stance on it. And I won't make it political, but basically, you know, yeah, just because it's in there doesn't mean that it's safe or it's good for you. And educating people is part of the process, I feel, because I had to do all of that for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to share that information.
Yeah. So what would be some of the harmful effects of the chemicals?
And what chemicals would be ones that you would like people to avoid? Yeah,
can you name a couple?
So until they generally have really complex names, and they're called inky names, INCI. And so if anybody wants to check a product, I really wish, oh, hang on, let me see if there's a product that I can pick up for you. The other thing you can look for is if a brand, I won't show you this one, I'll show you this back of it. So this is a brush cleaner, but if they don't even have ingredients, then don't put it on your skin, please. But even if they do, just looking, because I don't have anything kind of, oh, hang on, maybe Okay. So caprylyl glycol, anything that's an acrylate, they're generally all like silicons and things. And what's another one? You put me on. I'm like, where's my brain gone?
About parabens earlier.
Yeah, parabens, particular preservatives. You know, so you can actually have preservatives that are coconut derived. So you should always look for the cocoa part of it. And you can also have so anything that is generally a synthetic is sort of not ideal. And again, it's a matter of looking at the ingredients and then, you know, knowing what they are. They can sound, and not all, the fallacy is that if they sound really scary, they're really bad, which is not actually the case. It's just, again, you just have to, you know them. And so yes, I'm sort of fumbling on this question. I apologize, which is not great, but yeah.
It's all good. I was just curious for someone that was just going to stick to their conventional makeup the rest of their life because they love that lipstick or they love that mascara, yet there could be some harmful ingredients in there. What could be the motivating factor for that person to stop using those products, besides knowing it's probably better to switch over to something a bit cleaner? But when we know what's actually in it and the kind of harmful effects long term, I think it's more motivating for some people.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the question to that is that as humans, we're essentially organic creatures. So, you know, what we put on our bodies and what we put into our bodies will present itself, you know, in our skin or in our energy or in our, you know, health and well-being. So the things to avoid, you know, your mineral oils, the parabens, the phthalates, you have to say that really quickly 3 times. And so it's using myself as an example on that one. When I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, that was probably, you know, the disease activity. So I was diagnosed in 2007, and I think I first noticed symptoms that I didn't know were MS several years prior. So by the time they call it a barrel effect. So by the time your body shows effects of that particular, you know, let's say autoimmune issue, it's already been in your system for several years. And so the barrel effect, like I said, you know, triggering multiple sclerosis is things like international travel, surprisingly enough, and also, just allergies, knowing what my allergies were, the fact that I still had all my heavy metal fillings and they're all gone now. I'm probably vaguing out, going somewhere else there, but yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting how you can reassess your life when your health is under crisis, like you've had a health crisis and have to reassess everything, because obviously changing your ways and your lifestyle and what you're consuming is going to make a big impact on your health. So
yeah, definitely. I think definitely, you know how we're talking about ingredients and things, definitely think if you read it and it makes no sense and, you know, you can't actually see the ingredients, then I would probably steer away from it. I think also the more, I'm just actually looking at one at the moment, it's just so annoying. Even as a consumer, I can't find these particular these ingredients. Sulfates, they call them SLS, SLES, sodium lauryl sulfate. That's what makes things bubbly.
Yeah.
You can get that from coconut. Yeah.
And
I think also people, sorry, I was going to say people to be aware of media hype as well, because marketing's really good at doing that. So, oh, we're natural and we are this and we are that. Well, and then you read
colours and flavours, but actually no, it's chemically derived, and it might have once upon a time been natural, but then it's gone through the process, and not natural, not good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like anything, you know, hydrochloric acid, for example, is a chemical, and it is, let's say, natural, because I think it's just a compound within itself. You know, maybe you can't create it. I could be wrong. I'm not a scientist, but I'm just using that as a really bad example. But yeah, it's oh, here we go. Triglycerides, they're not great. Where's another one? Yeah, the propylenes are not great. Benzoate, yeah, things like that.
Okay.
Now I feel good because I'm like, oh, they're right there in front of me. So but that's a good example. If I look at a product and I'm basically reading, it's the same with say CSS or HTML. You know, if it's a language that you have to learn in order to be able to understand it. It's the same with English, for example, or any language. If you understand it, then you know you have to learn it to understand it. It's the same with product labels. You can read it and you know what those things are, then you can make that informed decision.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost funny. I walk into a chemist or whatever and, you know, read the label or read the signage about natural, green, clean. Oh, cool. All right, let's see, shall we? And then I pick it up and put it straight back on the shelf.
I guess a lot of different chemicals you can find. Obviously, you said about going on your skin, it absorbs through your skin. Most things do, and you go into your bloodstream.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess a lot of things can impact your hormones. It can just have a toxic overload. Your body stores onto toxins. Can you think of anything else that would add to the list of reasons to avoid them? Just a overload of toxins over a long period of time, and how that would accumulate in the body, and headaches and all those sort of things.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, unless like I said, unless you have a reason, you know, fatigue, tiredness, irritability, even stress, anxiety, you know, all these things, people might put it down to a busy job, but what they're not realizing is that, you know, what are you actually fueling your body with, or what are you actually exposing yourself to? And it's even this just came to me as well, you know, instead of one of those plug-in fragrance things for your house, well, what notice, you know, what difference would you notice if you actually used essential oils instead? You know, the ultimate end result is perhaps the same. You get a nice smelling house, but you know, what are you exposing yourself to? The other thing that I can't believe is that companies still put talc in products. There's something else to talk about as well. But yeah, you know, confirmed and known carcinogens are in major products. Why? Well, okay, because it's cheap. So, you know, and they, oh, okay, I'm going to get really like, ooh, they don't care what you put on your skin. You have to.
I like that. That's a good take-home message.
Yeah,
definitely.
100%. And I think the regulations with you can tell me if I'm wrong, but the regulations with the cosmetic industry or skincare are very different. Like they can put in lots of things that, you know, you're not necessarily allowed to consume because, they're just pretty relaxed with their regulations. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. So pretty much if we look at it even from the ground up, it was my choice to study to become a cosmetic chemist. It's not a requirement to be a qualified cosmetic chemist to make or sell products. So it's, you know, that I don't think is understood very well. What else I was going to say to you? Oh, I probably should get a water. I'm just on a different, I don't know, plane for a second there.
No, I think that's great. I've got a little bit of an itching question that I wanted to talk about, going back to your multiple sclerosis, if that's okay, and about stress and the triggers of stress. And then I know, being a working mum myself, the stress that it can take and the toll that it can take. How do you deal with stress? What do you do to help relieve the stress, and, you know, I suppose keeping in mind that it could trigger your MS?
A flare up.
Most definitely quitting my well-paid government job was a great way to get rid of the stress. Definitely, I mean, and this is not everybody's, like I said, trajectory. This is definitely mine, but making the choice to be the best mum I could be, and, you know, being full-time with my son, because the relationship between he and I can, you know, it's so good, and we're so emotionally connected that generally the home life is not stressful, because you know, he pretty much the only time that he's away from me is if he's visiting his dad. Cool, no worries, he gets to see their family, that's awesome. Or when he's at school, and the rest of the time, you know, we're together and hanging out and whatever. So being more explicit in that, you know, there's I'm a attachment based parent, and it seems to be working pretty well. There's generally no stress at home, which is nice. And, you know, if you can control that as well, I'm not saying that, you know, I don't get cross with him sometimes and vice versa, because, you know, we're human, but generally I think also that whole, you know, being in control of your environment. So, you know, I've got my goldfish at home, and, you know, I love talking to them, and setting up the tank, and, you know, cleaning that out. And so I don't know whether that's a bit weird or not. Oh no, I don't actually. No, I don't think it's weird. No. We all have talking to them is.
Yeah,
but they know me. they know me, and, you know, they, you know, come up to the front of the tank and talk to me. I am an avid gardener, and I absolutely love indoor plants, so I'm probably a crazy plant mum. And hey, hang on a second, why are these negative connotations about plants and nature? Why is that? Because I am not crazy. I just love plants and nature
and talking to goldfish. No, it's
sure.
We all have ways to deal with stress, and like to manage our home life, our work life, and have things that relieve our stress levels. So it's it doesn't matter what it is.
That's right. Other things. I love an almond latte. I love, you know, just getting 10 to 15 minutes in the sun. And that's not sunbathing, that's just kind of replenishing the vitamin D. So with said coffee, I'll go sit out the back and just soak up the rays, you know, just get that sun on your legs, get that sun on, you know, the inside of your arms. I also am a huge fan of grounding, and that's basically any opportunity I can to take my shoes off and walk on the grass or walk on the ground, I will. And if people are interested in that, then there's heaps of information on the internet. And that's the beauty of the world now, is that, you know, we have a plethora of information that we can, you know, search for and source. So yeah, no shoes on the grass is one of my favorite things to do. And what else? Do you know what? Choose your attitude. I don't like sitting on social media and scrolling through, even though we will naturally do that anyway as you know, people, because you know, we're so surrounded by it. But that's the best thing I've found for myself in terms of reducing stress and maintaining my health is you have to look at it from a holistic approach. So what are you eating? What are you putting on your body? What are you surrounding yourself with? How are you talking to yourself? Is it positive? Is it negative? What are you exposing yourself to? You know, the other day I went and I grabbed a coffee from, you know, wherever, and the customers in this particular place were angry and cross and treating the workers like poo. And I got my stuff and I said thank you, you know, to the, you know, for their service, because they were great to me, and I got out of there because I was so afraid of absorbing that. So I feel like life is an absorption. You absorb it from everywhere. You know, choose what it is that you're absorbing.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good message. Such a good message.
Excellent.
It's so true. And even with social media, you can, you know, you don't, it's also a it's like the Trojan horse in a way, for lack of a better analogy, that you can be scrolling and think, la 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 la, I'd love to see what people are up to, blah, blah, and then you know, something hits you, and then you don't even realize it. You're like, oh, all of a sudden I feel awful. I feel so, you know, and then you turn it off, and then automatically you feel better. But that's the thing, people don't turn it off.
No, they just keep going back for more. Yeah.
And I want to ask you. Yeah, exactly. And it's a conditioning. Social media is just conditioning.
And very good marketing.
Yeah.
Very, very good marketing. Yes.
Yes, the N word.
A question about your brand going forward. Going back to Gemma Vendetta Cosmetics. So you've obviously have an award-winning mascara, which is amazing. What else are you working on at the moment? Is there anything you can share with us?
Ooh. So when I first discovered that the cosmetic chemistry was the trajectory, I keep using that word, but it's a good word. You know, it makes me think of space and Elon Musk's penis rocket. And
I've got some visuals now.
There's no way that you will go now and see that rocket any other way.
No, okay.
And I blame the fact I have an 11-year-old son on that. Thanks, Ollie.
11-year-old's perspective.
Boys are gross. So and very honest. So yeah, it's cosmetic chemistry. So one of the first formulations that I did and nailed was the organic, and I called it a lip balm. But the wonderful thing that's happened from that is that my one of my neighbors was walking past our house, and her daughter just absolutely loves me. I'm not sure why. It's just you know, she's like, Gemma, and so it went out to say hi. And because we live in Tanunda, and the Barossa Valley is just gorgeous, and I'm so glad that I moved here. I have never ever felt so at home than where I do now. So that's also a good stress relief, because before that we won't even talk about it. So I went outside and saw the little girl, and the little girl has just become a big sister, and her little sister had some really bad, painful, you could see the dried blood from the baby eczema. And I said, oh, I had that really bad as a child. And I said, wait here, I'll be right back. So I ran off inside, came back and gave her some of the balm. And within 48 hours, it's gone. The cradle cap, the cracked eczema, it's gone. So it's created a barrier, and a really deep hydrating barrier. It's also an antibacterial, so it took out the bacteria from that particular issue. And it also gave, and is this just a balm? Not really. It's just, so anyway, so there's that. So I'm working on probably extending that particular balm into, maybe a baby balsam or something. I don't know. Just because it's naturally going that way. But most definitely the next thing that and you know what, if I say this, it means I have to do it. So I'm fine with that. My next product will be a hydrating facial mist.
Ooh.
And you can also use it as a setting lotion.
Yeah.
And then after that, because I've already, it's just a matter of getting the packaging more than anything. And then I'll do the labels. That's no problem. But a very deeply hydrating lotion.
Beautiful.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. How exciting. That sounds really exciting.
Yeah.
I better get onto that now.
That's it. You said it now. We're waiting.
Yeah.
We're waiting eagerly.
I know. People are.
Oh, that's fabulous. I'm just mindful of the time because we know that you're very busy, but we really wanted to ask you if you could tell us a bit more about the Young Care Oz and why you're so passionate about supporting them.
Yeah, good question. And I didn't realize that supporting them would be such a almost like deeply emotional choice. But when you said it then, and then it's my opportunity to tell you about them, I felt a little bit choked up there. But they, okay, so I support Young Care Oz because disability is not always an old person's issue. So when and it comes from the fact that I live with MS, and people, I remember at school when we were doing reading for MS Readathon, and you just picture old people with walking frames or old people in wheelchairs, or it's always this thought that, like I said, disability is for the old, older people, when in actual fact disability is indiscriminate of age. However, there are plenty of young people who are actually unable to live at home independently, and they're in nursing homes.
Mm-hmm.
So how is that? How awful is that to be a young person? Even old people shouldn't be in old people's homes. So for a young person, who doesn't have the or needs added support to live independently. So that's what Young Care Oz does. So every dollar from I think I'm doing $1 from every sale through GemmaVendetta.com goes to Young Care Oz. So the more sales I have, the more support I can give them, and then I can't help myself. Every time I go to send them funds, I always put more in, because I just think, well, yeah. So there's that. They provide. They're amazing. They are so passionate about what they do for young people living with disabilities, and they provide opportunities for young people with disabilities to live independly with support. So yeah.
Amazing.
And it also frees up space in the nursing homes.
That's lovely. That's amazing. Thank you so much for coming onto our podcast. And
You're welcome.
So excited for what's ahead in your upcoming ventures within your brand and everything. And just really excited. And just from an outsider's, like even just as a consumer, looking at your products, the way that they're packaged, how they feel quite clean, and almost minimalistic in a way with their packaging and the way that everything just kind of feels. You can tell that it's clean, for it just has a really nice energy about it. So I'm really excited to see it expand and grow even more than it has. It's really exciting for you.
Thank you.
So if people want to find out more about Gemma Vendetta Cosmetics, we will put the links in the show notes, but where can they find you?
Okay, so this is the exciting part. So definitely you can find me on the website, GemmaVendetta.com, but in store, you can find me in approximately, I think it might have even clicked over 40 stockists across Australia and New Zealand. So if you go to the website and you find the stockists, you can actually probably find one near you. And if you can't, you should go in there and say, we want Gemma in here, because I want to be able to buy it. But so you can also follow me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, which is hilarious because I don't actually do any dancing videos. Sorry, everyone, but no one needs to see that. But I do little snippets of when I'm formulating and things like that. So yeah, that's just Google me, I guess. You'll find me. Yeah. I have quite a footprint.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And we'll put everything in the show notes that we've talked about and all of that, so people can go jump on your website and have a browse. And definitely recommend anyone who hasn't started changing over their cosmetics or skincare, just make the change. And I get it's a bit daunting for people when they're whether it's financially or whether they're just so stuck on their products because they've got this relationship with their brand or the product and they love them. But if you can start to make a change, as daunting as it is, it will be really good for your health, good for small business as well, because obviously Gemma's having a very small business that is obviously going to be expanding, but really good for your health as well and for the planet, and just be mindful of what you're putting in. So if you can start to do small changes with your cosmetics and skincare, everyone, I think
read the labels. Start trying to read the labels and see what you can interpret and what you can understand. That's a big first step.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please go over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star review. It will really help support this channel and share this message. By all means, go over to our social media platforms and let us know what you'd like to hear more of. All of our links will be in the show notes and things we've discussed today in the episode. We'll talk to you next week.